Miracle students have all, of course, seen these principles 5 and 6, and you may have wondered about the backstory or what are some of the details or, that would make this reasonable or logical to understand. And I submit to you the answer is contained within the reading that we're going to do this evening. So keep an eye out for miracles are natural, but purification is necessary first. So we are going to be reading from the textbook, chapter 14, section 3. Hello and welcome to Miracles on High Plains. My name is Jonica, and Julie is our reader for this evening.
The happy learner cannot feel guilty about learning. This is so essential to learning that it should never be forgotten. The guiltless learner learns easily because his thoughts are free. Yet this entails the recognition that guilt is interference, not salvation, and serves no useful function at all. Perhaps you are accustomed to using guiltlessness merely to offset the pain of guilt, and do not look upon it as having value in itself. You believe that guilt and guiltlessness are both of value, each representing an escape from what the other does not offer you. You do not want either alone, for without both, you do not see yourself as whole and therefore happy. Yet you are whole only in your guiltlessness, and only in your guiltlessness can you be happy. There is no conflict here. To wish for guilt in any way, in any form, will lose appreciation of the value of your guiltlessness and push it from your sight.
Mhm. So here they introduce the happy learner once again and tie the happy learner's experience directly to the experience of innocence or guiltlessness. I like the way innocence rolls off the tongue better. So when I use that word, we're same meaning as guiltlessness. Um, and so it ties a happy learner feels innocent. This is essential and should never be forgotten. This is how we become happy is in our innocence. Um, we'll talk about the ego problem in just a moment. And your sense of wholeness or of being complete, a part of the plan and fulfilled is tied directly to your experience of innocence. For only in innocence can you be happy, for that's the only place where there is no conflict. This is key. Innocence is free of conflict. However, the opposite is what the ego would have you drag you into, which is a compromise, split the difference kind of approach between guilt and innocence. It would have you learn to tolerate both and believing that they are both of value. And thus you wind up being in inner conflict because on one hand, you do feel a sense of believing in innocence, but on the other hand, you do feel a sense of guilt. And so that is inconsistent and introduces inner conflict, which is a barrier to happiness, and more importantly, in relationship to what we read yesterday, is a barrier to being a happy learner. We'll go on.
There is no compromise that you can make with guilt and escape the pain that only guiltlessness allays. Learning is living here, as creating is being in heaven. Whenever the pain of guilt seems to attract you, remember that if you yield to it, you are deciding against your happiness and will not learn how to be happy. Say therefore to yourself gently, but with conviction born of the love of God and of His Son, what I experience, I will make manifest. If I am guiltless, I have nothing to fear. I choose to testify to my acceptance of the atonement, not to its rejection. I would accept my guiltlessness by making it manifest and sharing it. Let me bring peace to God's Son from His Father.
So it shouldn't be a surprise that a course in miracles, a curriculum about teaching and learning, would state that learning is living here. Again, we're talking about a transition into a state of being a happy learner where we become free of the chains of guilt and open into a new phase, so to speak, being reborn into a new phase of your life where learning to be happy, learning what it's like to feel innocent, to be whole, becomes part of the way you live your life in the present. It becomes part of your identity. And so that has to be learned to do because, of course, we'll assume that you haven't completely been happy. More explicitly, it would say that you've been experiencing undue misery. And so now, in order to transition, there can be no compromise with guilt. We have, in other words, we're going to strive for a state of complete innocence. Remember, purification is necessary for miracles.
Each day, each hour and minute, even each second, you are deciding between the crucifixion and the resurrection, between the ego and the Holy Spirit. The ego is the choice for guilt. The Holy Spirit is the choice for guiltlessness. The power of decision is all that is yours. What you can decide between is fixed, because there are no alternatives except truth and delusion. And there is no overlap between them, because they are opposites which cannot be reconciled and cannot both be true. You are guilty or guiltless, bound or free, unhappy or happy.
So this is a major point here, got a couple layers, because the section is the decision for guiltlessness. I'm going to subtitle it The Great Decision. Rather than thinking about the truth that every day you make decisions of what clothes to wear and where you're going to go and how you're going to use your time and what you're going to eat. Yeah, that's on one level, but we're going to elevate to talk about the great decision of your life, the decision for guiltlessness. And it's one that you make repeatedly, as it says, each day, each hour, each minute. It's a decision of what direction you give your attention, your sense of purpose, which includes your sense of identity. So it's using the power of your mind to make a choice, and that choice is one between guilt or innocence. So that's the major theme here, but I want to make a comment as an aside, because I can hear Lauren saying, well, wait a minute, you said the we're not really the decision maker. So this is a little bit of a not a controversy. There are some teachers in A Course in Miracles that teach that we are the decision maker. I don't view it that way. I would view it this following way, that while we are in conflict between guilt on the one side and innocence on the other side, yes, we have decisions to make in order to escape from that prison of guilt. However, that doesn't mean that's what we are as a decision maker. It's something we must exercise while we are in prison. But once we escape, the Course is very clear there's no more decisions to make because only the truth is true. We're no longer split between two entirely opposing systems. There's only one path, and that's a path of oneness, of union. That's what we truly are for eternity. But until we reach that stage, it is true that we must exercise the power of decision to get out of the prison cell of the ego. Heidi?
Well, I thought that our mind training is leading us to follow the will of God. And if we follow the will of God, then we shouldn't have a decision. Because God makes our decisions, doesn't he?
He does, and you're right to question this, Heidi. It will be elaborated on more later.
Okay,
So
sorry.
let's hold on to that question, that approach, and see, how it is in the next paragraph, so to speak.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
The miracle teaches you that you have chosen guiltlessness, freedom, and joy. It is not a cause, but an effect. It is the natural result of choosing right, attesting to your happiness that comes from choosing to be free of guilt. Everyone you offer healing to returns it. Everyone you attack keeps it and cherishes it by holding it against you. Whether he does this or does it not will make no difference. You will think he does. It is impossible to offer what you do not want without this penalty. The cost of giving is receiving. Either it is a penalty from which you suffer or the happy purchase of a treasure to hold dear.
Okay, so now we can address one aspect of the principles of miracles. Number 5, miracles are natural. When they don't happen, something has gone wrong. Miracles are the natural result of choosing right. Miracles attest to your happiness that comes from choosing to be free of guilt. So, to put this in a time sequence, first, we choose to identify with our innocence. We choose rightly. And then miracles emerge naturally from that state. And if they don't emerge, it's because something has gone wrong. We've somehow slipped back into the belief in guilt. So miracles are not a cause, they are an effect of your having chosen for your innocence. And when we say innocence here, we really mean, and everything that implies. Innocence implies holiness. Holiness implies heavenly nature. and eternity and God's plan for creation. So it's really it's not, we use just a word symbol to represent what is really a part of a much larger plan of atonement. And so then the miracle is the effect of having chosen rightly. Susie?
This is really helpful. I don't know if Atisha helped Atisha, but this just jumped out at me. Yesterday's conversation. You know, it must be that I slip back into guilt and go back into maybe not being a happy learner.
Yes.
You know, and that just was really helpful to me. It was like, oh, so when I'm asking and praying and wanting and, you know, like, I don't know, that's just helped. That really helped me when you said like miracles are natural and everybody's right. And I get that. And thank you. I just wanted to comment on that.
Yeah.
It's just another way of watching my mind and what's going on with me.
Mm-hmm. It is, Susie. It's another example. This course is really simple. If you want to know if you're in equilibrium, if you're in the state, the natural state, then you would have miraculous perception. You would notice the miracle opportunities around you. Julie?
Thanks, Jonica. I was thinking about Susie when this came in my mind. The cost of giving is receiving. It's, that appears to be a statement of law, and there are no neutral thoughts, right? So you can't choose out of the cause and effect.
Right.
Thanks.
That's true. I like the way you said it, Julie. It is a law. You can decide which direction you want to go, but the results naturally follow after you make your choice. Heidi?
I'm a little confused. It says everyone you offer healing to returns it. So does that mean that if it hasn't been returned, that I'm not truly offering it?
So it's not a coincidence that you asked about that, Heidi, because when I saw that, I realized this was something that's a little difficult to put words to. We're not looking, so here's an interpretation. We're not looking for the return, like we're sitting there to see what we get back. But on a soulful level, Heidi, when you express love and forgiveness and acceptance to someone else, they receive that even if their outward expression of their emotions and their affect may still be stiff and unwelcoming. They notice that someone was just accepting and kind to them. They receive it. Now, the question is really then, what do we mean by they return it? And remember, just like Julie pointed out, it's a law. Everyone you attack keeps it and cherishes it by holding it against you. So they return the miracle because they return the miracle, but the attack becomes their own chaos, their own conflict. And so this is another way the Course says that miracles can be shared, but hate cannot be shared. Hate is a thought in one's mind that people cannot join with you in that. They can have their own hatred, but we can't come together and share hatred, but we can come together and share forgiveness and share happiness.
Thank you.
Yeah. Go on.
No penalty is ever asked of God's Son except by himself and of himself. Every chance given him to heal is another opportunity to replace darkness with light and fear with love. If he refuses it, he binds himself to darkness because he did not choose to free his brother and enter light with him. By giving power to nothing, he throws away the joyous opportunity to learn that nothing has no power. And by not dispelling darkness, he became afraid of darkness and of light. The joy of learning that darkness has no power over the Son of God is the happy lesson the Holy Spirit teaches and would have you teach with him. It is his joy to teach it, as it will be yours.
Mhm. So I want to introduce principle number 6 that, forgive me if I get the first half wrong. So miracles are natural, but purification is necessary first. Well, what do we mean by purification? What we mean is one's attention is no longer split between judging some of the times and finding guilt and condemnation, and at other times endorsing miracles and forgiveness. But one's attention moves completely to the side of surrendering judgment to the Holy Spirit and acceptance of forgiveness without division. And so it has to do, I view it as has to do with learning to use your power. Because by giving power to nothing, to judgments, to darkness, to condemnation, he throws away the opportunity to learn that nothing has no power. And for anybody that was not in attendance in the previous section, this nothing has no power should be seen in the context of what we read yesterday, where the choices are between everything and all of creation or the nothingness of illusions. And by giving power to the nothingness of illusions, we give our power away. This is another way of saying this is our faith gets misdirected into using it for judgment and looking for guilt, finding fault, and then believing that that is true. Rather, and what purification involves is mind training, so we learn to use our power only for the purposes of creation and of forgiveness. This is a lot easier to say than just click one's fingers and do it. But this is what the program of mind training is all about, is placing your faith properly into that which brings life and love and goodness. Susie?
Yeah, I just love this line. And by not dispelling darkness, he became afraid of darkness and of light. And it's not that I remember, I still am sometimes. I don't want the darkness, and I'm also not trusting, it's the faith. I'm afraid of the light. Like, who will I be without my darkness? It's a very common thing, I think, that's experienced as we go through this course. So that line really jumped out at me too.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. Thank you for highlighting that. Okay.
The way to teach this simple lesson is merely this: guiltlessness is invulnerability. Therefore, make your invulnerability manifest to everyone. Teach him that whatever he may try to do to you, your perfect freedom from the belief that you can be harmed shows him that he is guiltless. He can do nothing that can hurt you, and by refusing to allow him to think he can, you can teach him that the atonement which you have accepted for yourself is also his. There is nothing to forgive. No one can hurt the Son of God. His guilt is wholly without cause, and being without cause cannot exist.
So I just had someone that shared with me an experience, no names involved, but this woman has she has cerebral palsy, and she went to a spiritual group for miracles, and she was treated unkindly, seeming this is her report, seemingly because of her physical condition, and she felt hurt. From a human point of view, we understand that. And what miracles is about is recognizing only the truth is true. The judgments and guilt and condemnation in the minds of other people is not the truth. That's the lie that they're believing in. And so what miracles teaches is that no one can alter your being. No one can alter the truth of what you are, of the light within you, of your eternal nature, of your holiness, that it is invulnerable. And that certainly you can forget that you're invulnerable in that identity and become more preoccupied with what state is my body in, how do I appear to others, and what are they saying about me. That's certainly, we've all been there. But what miracles do is they allow us to rise above the illusions to a place that is free from the belief that you can be hurt by the guilt and judgments of other people, because you reside in a place of internal security. Your safety lies not in what somebody out there is saying about you, but your safety lies by identifying with the light within. And in this way, no one can hurt the Son of God. Heather?
I just love this. There's nothing to forgive. I just love it because it's so simple. If I'm not offended, there's nothing to forgive.
Yes.
If I'm offended by things, then it gets into the whole game of guilt and who's guilty and who's not guilty. But if I'm not offended, that's my invulnerability.
Yes.
So was so comforting. There's nothing to forgive because you're not offended. So no damage has even been done.
Yes. It really is true. And we would submit that we have to learn how to remain secure in that place above the battlefield, above the chaos. Susie sometimes call it the boxing ring. That's not to say there won't be invitations to enter into conflict, that people will say things that are unkind, but knowing that comes from an insane viewpoint and has no meaning, it has no truth, and therefore it's nothing, is really this elevated state. I would refer to this as a state of soul consciousness, where one is aware of the light within them and does not get confused about the light within them because of something somebody else says. It is an effect. Remember, miracles are an effect of having chosen for your innocence, knowing that you are created as God created you.
God is the only cause, and guilt is not of him. Teach no one he has hurt you, for if you do, you teach yourself that what is not of God has power over you. The causeless cannot be. Do not attest to it, and do not foster belief in it in any mind. Remember always that mind is one, and cause is one. You will learn communication with this oneness only when you learn to deny the causeless and accept the cause of God as yours. The power that God has given to his Son is his, and nothing else can his Son see or choose to look upon without imposing on himself the penalty of guilt in place of all the happy teaching the Holy Spirit would gladly offer him.
So we should, and we've already said, it's about how you use your power, and we should be willing to admit that we have used our power of our faith and our belief ineffectively, and we have believed mistakenly that what is not of God has power over us. And so mind training in this respect is all about learning that that power of your faith is really strong. It determines the course of how you live your life, and we're becoming conscious of the laws of using the power of your mind. And so part of that is what we do every session here is we emphasize these laws. And there's one that we'll just mention quickly here, but we'll bring up again. It has to do, it's a deep teaching, and that is God is the only cause of creation. And what is not caused by love is not a part of the plan of creation, therefore is not a part of reality. It's not true. We would say that it is nothing. It's a part of the nothingness of illusions. Now, that's a deeper teaching that we'll have to save for another time, but it's brought up here, and we will come back to this again, where we learn to discern, to distinguish between that which is caused as a part of all creation and that which is, I think Noel referred to it the other day as a wisp or a whim, something unworthy of dwelling upon more than a fleeting second.
Whenever you choose to make decisions for yourself, you are thinking destructively, and the decision will be wrong. It will hurt you because of the concept of decision that led to it. It is not true that you can make decisions by yourself or for yourself alone. No thought of God's Son can be separate or isolated in its effects. Every decision is made for the whole sonship, directed in and out, and influencing a constellation larger than anything you ever dreamed of.
This is where it becomes cosmic in scope. I mean, that last statement, every decision you make has an effect on the entire sonship. That's a lot. We don't have time to even begin to understand how that could be true. But later on, perhaps we will. Um, for now, know that the principle in miracles is every decision, every minute, you you make decisions, and you do not make them alone. You make them with your guide. And your guide is either your past memory of the ego, or your guide is the Holy Spirit. It's a choice of which guide you will use, but you never make a decision without something to guide you. So it's never made alone and by yourself. And now let's real quick tie this to the entire sonship. And if you make your decision with the Holy Spirit, then she takes into account everybody. And so your decision is made in terms of the entire sonship, affecting a constellation larger than anything you could ever dream of, not because you thought of it, but because the Holy Spirit understood these things in her guidance to you.
Those who accept the atonement are invulnerable. My apologies. Yeah, okay. But those who believe they are guilty will respond to guilt because they think it is salvation and will not refuse to see it and side with it. They believe that increasing guilt is self-protection, and they will fail to understand the simple fact that what they do not want must hurt them. All this arises because they do not believe that what they want is good. Yet will was given them because it is holy and will bring them to all they need, coming as naturally as peace that knows no limits. There is nothing their will fails to provide that offers them anything of value. Yet because they do not understand their will, the Holy Spirit quietly understands it for them and gives them what they want without effort, strain, or the impossible burden of deciding what they want and need alone.
Mm-hmm. So we said before, when you choose for innocence, we're just using that as a symbol to represent the larger sense of you're choosing for your inner being, your eternal nature, your holy nature, the holy mind, and with it, really, the entire plan of creation. And will is a vital element in that. And so it's part of that gift. So when you choose for your innocence, you're choosing to recognize the willpower that was given you to be a miracle worker, to heal, and to ultimately be at peace and to bring forth love into the world. And that choice knows no limits. So, to bring this all the way back, the great decision of your life that you make every hour of your life is what direction, who will be your guide, what direction you will go in. And when you choose for the Holy Spirit to be your guide, which is where your innocence is embedded, then she takes into account the entire plan, and that plan brings many attributes along with it that know no limits.
It will never happen that you must make decisions for yourself. You are not bereft of help, and help that knows the answer. Would you be content with little, which is all that you alone can offer yourself, when he who gives you everything will simply offer it to you? He will never ask what you have done to make you worthy of the gift of God. Ask it not, therefore, of yourself. Instead, accept his answer, for he knows that you are worthy of everything God wills for you. Do not try to escape the gift of God he so freely and so gladly offers you. He offers you but what God gave him for you. You need not decide whether or not you are deserving of it. God knows you are.
I'll just point out this comes back to the decision maker. God gave the gifts to you. You need not decide whether or not you're deserving of it. You've already received it. He's already endorsed your divine nature. In his mind, it's already certain. And our journey is catching up to what he already knows to be true. Until we get there, it seems like it's in our hands to decide. And in fact, it is choices we must make to orient ourselves towards nothingness or to orient ourselves towards everything. Speaking of orienting towards nothingness, this particularly stood out to me here, this question. Would you be content with littleness? Would you be content? Somebody else, I don't recall the author, talked about playing small in life, just curling up into little self, withdrawing all, not utilizing any of your gifts, your power, and being little, all alone by yourself. Or we know that the Course says the alternative choice is to enter into magnitude, which is everything, which is true, which is a proper use of your power of creation, a proper use of your faith. And so I really feel like this is a question, I'm speaking to myself now, to ask every day if I'm willing to play small, or am I willing to step up to the purpose for which we are all called to play our function in this world, to be healers?
Would you deny the truth of God's decision and place your pitiful appraisal of yourself in place of his calm and unswerving value of his Son? Nothing can shake God's conviction of the perfect purity of everything that he created, for it is wholly pure. Do not decide against it, for being of him, it must be true. Peace abides in every mind that quietly accepts the plan God set for its atonement, relinquishing its own. You know not of salvation, for you do not understand it. Make no decisions about what it is or where it lies, but ask the Holy Spirit everything and leave all decisions to his gentle counsel.
Mm-hmm. So principle number 6 of miracles talks about purification being necessary to work miracles. It's a condition. And this is an opportunity to illustrate level confusion. For perfect purity of everything that God created is part of the original state, your eternal nature is perfectly pure. It was created by a perfect being. So on that level, purity is already your nature. But on the level of a confused mind, we might instead adopt a pitiful appraisal of ourself. That's littleness. That's self-condemnation, self-debasement. That's confusion regarding our nature. It occurs at the level of mind, and is the basis for the entire entire charade of the ego. And so the purity is there in the spirit, but what we need to do is return, using the plan of atonement, return the mind to the state of awareness of the purity that is already our natural being. That state, which is in the mind, not in the spirit, is the focus of this program. So purification is necessary for miracles to happen. But the only thing, I really believe this following statement, the only thing that holds any of us back is a pitiful appraisal of ourselves. It's not what externally people say or do. It's not the condition of the world. It's doubt about and confusion about our own nature and our own innocence, our own holiness.
The one who knows the plan of God that God would have you follow can teach you what it is. Only his wisdom is capable of guiding you to follow it. Every decision you undertake alone but signifies you would define what salvation is and what you would be saved from. The Holy Spirit knows all that salvation is escape from guilt. You have no other enemy, and against this strange distortion of the purity of the Son of God, the Holy Spirit is your only friend. He is the strong protector of the innocence that sets you free. And it is his decision to undo everything that would obscure your innocence from your unclouded mind.
Well, something just popped in my mind, so I'm just going to go with it. Forgive me if this image is a little strong. Picture a 1-year-old child sitting on the ground, sweet and smiling, and then I'll be the one. I come along and throw dirt in his face. Something very cruel. That would be like treading on the innocence of the child, total disregard for his loveliness. Well, it goes back to having a pitiful appraisal of oneself. That innocent child is really the image of your own holy nature. And anytime we attack ourselves, we're attacking innocence itself. And so what we just read is that salvation, what is salvation? Salvation is this escape from the belief in the opposite of innocence. Salvation is where we become free of any inclination to condemn ourselves, pitiful appraisal of ourselves, or anyone else without exception, so that we instead see through the eyes of innocence. That's what salvation is. This entire program, by the way, salvation, forgiveness, and healing, they're the same. Those are different words for the same experience. It's reclaiming the universal truth that we were created by love, for love, and our nature is one of love and innocence. And so the Holy Spirit's role is the great decision. His decision is to undo everything that would obscure your innocence from your unclouded mind. And so it's really very simple. We've been doing this to ourselves unnecessarily. We pay the price when we condemn ourselves. Yes, we project it outward and we get confused about whether it's coming from the outside and that's the ego charade that it wants you to focus on what's coming from without rather than looking within. But we're doing it to ourselves. It's unnecessary. And the Holy Spirit is ready, so to speak. She's already anticipated your decision to completely accept innocence for yourself. She's already foreseen that, and she's holding the sacred space for you, awaiting for your willingness to catch up. And yes.
Let him, therefore, be the only guide that you would follow to salvation. He knows the way and leads you gladly on it. With him, you will not fail to learn that what God wills for you is your will. Without his guidance, you will think you know alone and will decide against your peace as surely as you decided that salvation lay in you alone. Salvation is of him to whom God gave it for you. He has not forgotten it. Forget him not, and he will make every decision for you, for your salvation and the peace of God in you.
Okay, so here's where our trust factor is really necessary, because what's being proposed here cannot be done without trust. For Lauren, as we know, we tend to think of ourselves as the decision maker. I'm the one that's going to decide either for God or for the ego. So we tend to try to think of it as it starts with me. Well, that's a beginner approach. That's okay for starters. But what we've said is the Holy Spirit already foresees all the most important decisions you're ever going to make in your life, including this great decision. And that ultimately these are grander decisions than we usually even think in terms of such grand decisions. The Holy Spirit is the great decision maker. He will make every decision for you if you are willing to accept Holy Spirit's guidance. It reminds me kind of, sorry for the analogy, but if you were 5 years old and were walking with a parent or other adult and you had to cross a big street, 6 lanes, traffic light, you would put your hand in the hand of that adult and trust them to guide you across, that they know where they're going and how to navigate this complex traffic situation that the little 5-year-old doesn't know how to navigate or understand. And so it's very much like that, is trusting the Holy Spirit has got your back, so it would be a modern way, has got it all covered, has seen this situation countless times before, and will make every decision for you when you're ready to trust.
Seek not to appraise the worth of God's Son, whom he created holy, for to do so is to evaluate his Father and judge against him. And you will feel guilty for this imagined crime, which no one in this world or heaven could possibly commit. The Holy Spirit teaches only that the sin of self-replacement on the throne of God is not a source of guilt. What cannot happen can have no effects to fear. Be quiet in your faith in him who loves you and would lead you out of insanity. Madness may be your choice, but not your reality. Never forget the love of God who has remembered you, for it is quite impossible that he could ever let his Son drop from the loving mind wherein he was created, and where his abode was fixed in perfect peace forever.
Mhm. So I want to attempt to make something really a bridge in thought for everyone that has wondered. In the Course of Miracles, they keep talking about guilt, guilt, guilt. What guilt are they talking about? I know I struggled with it for many years. I was clueless about what they were referring to. And there's evidence for it right here, or there's a bridge for it. It has to do with appraising the worth of another person. And so, work with me here. The idea is that when you encounter people in whatever way, or even think of them, in your mind, their lower ego mind, there's a tendency to decide what worth do they have to you? What is this person worth my while? It worth my time? Worth my love? Worth my forgiveness? There's a tendency, I'm not saying it's always conscious, but this, you can be sure the ego is judging people about their worth. And what we just said is it has an unkind appraisal. And so, therefore, that's the way the ego operates. And so, if you catch yourself having an appraisal of someone that's anything less than your best, well, that's the evidence of guilt. That's the evidence that you've arrived at a conclusion that that person, which is really a mirror of yourself, that person is not worth your love. And so what does that say about your self-concept? Is that I'm speaking first person, that I'm not worth my own love. And I'm seeing it in another person. And so it comes through this unholy appraisal. To do so is to evaluate the Father and judge against the Creator. For when you encounter another person, you're encountering one of his creations. And in the mistaken mind, we're talking about conflicted mind, appraising this other person, again, a mirror of yourself, as being unlovable or guilty or unforgivable. And so there you go. You can if you pay attention, you'll see evidence of guilt. And maybe it's not you doing it, but maybe you notice, like the woman with cerebral palsy who recognized other people were doing it to her. They were appraising her as less than or lacking, unwilling to grant her the dignity to which she is entitled. And so, of course, this does happen in our world. All that the Course would say is a sign of feeling guilty about oneself and then using it to judge against others, which is really an evaluation of the Creator's handiwork. I bet you never thought of it that way.
Say to the Holy Spirit only, "Decide for me," and it is done. For his decisions are reflection of what God knows about you, and in this light, error of any kind becomes impossible. Why would you struggle so frantically to anticipate all you cannot know? when all knowledge lies behind every decision of the Holy Spirit, every decision the Holy Spirit makes for you. Learn of his wisdom and his love, and teach his answer to everyone who struggles in the dark, for you decide for them and for yourself.
Okay, so here's the other clue that will unravel that mystery we encountered early, where every decision you make with the Holy Spirit affects the entire sonship and implicates a constellation far beyond anything you can imagine, because all knowledge lies behind every decision the Holy Spirit makes for you. She brings, I know that this is a lot to imagine. She takes into account everything. When in her guidance to you, there's no one that she dismisses as unimportant. Everyone is taken into account when she guides us. And so, again, rather than seizing the prerogative of making decisions for oneself, and we know how we've made poor choices in the past, say to the Holy Spirit, I really don't know what's best. Decide for me. This is the motto that will bring about you engage in the most holy guide for those decisions, take into account all the factors necessary for the best outcome. We're going to skip one paragraph, not because we're running short of time.
You taught yourself the most unnatural habit of not communicating with your Creator, yet you remain in close communication with Him and everything that is within Him as it is within yourself. Unlearn isolation through His loving guidance, and learn of all the happy communication that you have thrown away but could not lose. Whenever you are in doubt what you should do, think of his presence in you and tell yourself this and only this: He leadeth me and knows the way which I know not. Yet he will never keep from me what he would have me learn. And so I trust him to communicate to me all that he knows for me. Then let him teach you quietly how to perceive your guiltlessness, which is already there.
Your guiltlessness, your innocence is already there, but we've become confused with other ideas of pitiful appraisals of ourselves. Let him teach you quietly how to perceive, once again, your true nature, your innocence. It's already been gifted to you. And so this was what we had learned, the most unnatural habit of disconnecting from holy mind and trying to isolate and go on our own. And now we're being called back into cooperation with spirit. It's a gentle process. It's one for which all creation is mustered together to help us with. So that's as far as we're going to go with our reading today. I want to thank you all. I know that was a lot. That was like a double session there in terms of reading volume. But I do promise you that these themes will repeat again and again about the great decision, the power of decision. Let him decide, Holy Spirit decide for me. And so what was not fully clear to your mind today, trust that the light of the Holy Spirit will continue to shine as long as you're willing to pursue it, and it will all become clear in its proper moment. So, Julie, thank you for your reading. Thank you all for your attention to the great decision of life, and look forward to connecting with you again real soon. Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you.
Namaste. You're welcome. Thank you, Jonica. Thank you, everyone.
Peace and love.
Thanks, Jonica. Thanks, Julie.